What's up guys, so we're back in the studio, the vegan YouTube video studio, and today I thought of a slightly different video. Thought it'd be quite interesting, might get a few controversial opinions out of me that I keep to myself, but because I'm being asked these questions it'll reveal itself, or will it? I might edit it out. But today, so it's actually my fourth video this evening. My creative streak, I'm on a roll right now, and this idea came to me when I was doing a previous video. But I'm basically gonna ask ChatGPT for a prompt, and the prompt is gonna be ask me some difficult questions about the vegan movement as a vegan activist. I'm gonna see what ChatGPT generates, and yeah, should be a good video. So, got ChatGPT up here now. Gonna go to the prompt message box. And how shall I word it? So, ask me some difficult questions about the vegan/animal rights movement as a vegan activist. Might work. Let's see what it comes up with. Ooh, oh no! I've got to go through all these. I don't know if I will. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna express my opinion. I may not include all of my opinions in the final video. We will see though. Right, let's go to the top one. Intersectionality. How do you address the intersectionality between veganism and other social justice movements, such as feminism, racial equality, and LGBTQ rights? Recognizing that issues like food access, cultural practices, and economic disparities may impact people's ability to adopt a vegan lifestyle. What is my opinion on feminism, racial equality, and LGBTQ rights? Nope. Not doing it. Not doing it. Next one. Okay, intersectionality. What do I think of intersectionality? I believe that we don't need intersectionality. We don't need intersectionality in the animal rights movement. Our focus as animal rights activists should be solely on animal rights. It should be solely on getting people to change their mindset towards animals, changing their relationship with animals and how they see it. I don't think we should include stuff like feminism into veganism, racial equality into veganism, LGBTQ rights into veganism. Those issues, they don't matter in the animal rights movement. We're activists, okay? When we're activists, we should be advocating for animals only. That's not to say that vegan activists don't care about these other issues, and that's not to say that vegan activists have their own views on these issues. What I'm saying is that when advocating for animals, when advocating for animal rights and a vegan mindset, we should just be focusing on that, because otherwise it muddies the water, it paints veganism out to be a certain picture, and people who have a different view of feminism, a different view of LGBTQ rights to what the mainstream hold, if they have a different view to these issues, then they'll feel ostracized. They'll feel like they can't become vegan because that means they need to be in support of LGBTQ rights. They need to be in support of feminism. And, like, we have freedom of speech. Everyone has the right to believe what they want to believe. And a lot of left-wingers, I believe, they are very emotional, and when they hear views that contradict their own views, they tend to throw their toys out the pram, if I'm honest. They tend to not get very logical about it, and they just go to name calling, to hating on people who view things differently, instead of having a calm and rational discussion with them if it's that what they want. Imagine if we went out onto the streets and we started like getting emotional to the members of the public about veganism. It won't work. It won't work very well, and people will be scared away from it. So that is my politically correct answer to that question there. Right, next one. I don't really get this one. Sustainability versus individual choice. While advocating for veganism, how do you balance the emphasis on individual dietary choices? Okay, so I think what it's saying, or it's asking me is, well, I think it's asking me what I think of the difference between systemic change and individual change. I believe that individual change drives systemic change. Without individuals personally making that choice to become a vegan, then systemic change isn't going to come about. And I get there's stuff like the plant-based treaty, there's different initiatives like the Vegan Organic Network that are trying to kind of bring about systemic change in our country, especially in the UK. Honestly, I think the individuals behind these systemic changes, they need to have the change of heart first, and that's when we can get the most effective change. That's what I believe. I think I answered that well. Anyway, cultural sensitivity. How do I navigate promoting veganism while respecting cultural traditions and practices that may involve animal products, recognizing that food often carries deep cultural and social significance? Okay, my simple answer to that is I don't really care about cultural traditions. I don't really care about traditions surrounding meat. In countries like the UK and the USA, I mean, they've got Thanksgiving. They stuff a turkey, a dead turkey, and eat the turkey. Millions of turkeys are killed around that time. I don't think that is a reason to continue practicing eating and exploiting animals. It's not a good reason. A question I often ask people is, just because we've been doing something for a long time, does that make it right to continue? There's a lot of traditions that, when looked at and when viewed through a different lens, don't really seem like the best thing to take forward in humanity. And I believe using animals is one of them. We can leave it behind in the past, and we don't need to continue using animal products when there's alternatives available. We should be thinking about how we can move on from that, move forward into a vegan future. So yeah, that's my view on that. Obviously, when you're talking to people from different cultural backgrounds, yes, you got to be sensitive, you got to be understanding, you got to be reasonable. You can't just scream at them saying, no, that's not right. You got to kind of see where they're coming from, because I mean, you get people from with all kinds of issues, like people with financial issues, etc., etc. And I mean, most of the time they'll probably be living off mostly vegan food because it's the cheapest to buy. But sometimes I don't think people have the ability to add that extra layer of complexity into their life, like that extra layer of complexity of being a vegan when they've got a lot of other issues going on, like issues that are taking all their time. If they've got free time and they're doing fuck all, then yes, they absolutely can look into veganism. And if they care about it enough, they will make time for it. So yeah. Okay, ethical consumption under capitalism. Given the pervasive influence of capitalism on global food systems, how do you address the ethical implications of consumer choices within a system that prioritizes profits over ethics and often exploits both humans and animals in production processes? Yeah, the sad reality is there's a lot of money in using animals and exploiting animals. And you see, capitalism isn't moral. It's not a moral thing. It's a system which has worked out quite well, but it's not an ethical system. There's a lot of fucked up things when it comes to capitalism. A lot of things that should not be done just because we're in a capitalist system. Obviously, you got to be smart. You got to be smart. You got to think about a way of how you can navigate the capitalist system we're in to bring in your own values, to bring in your own ethics. I'm sure every vegan struggles with that sometimes. They might struggle with buying a car, for example, because it has a leather steering wheel. But then again, they rely on their car to get to a job. So what are they going to do? Not buy a car and then potentially go bankrupt and lose money and not have any money to live a comfortable life? No. Another thing, if you're calling a taxi's got leather seats in it. Are you going to decline the taxi because it's got leather seats in it when it's 3 a.m. in the morning and you want to go home? No. See, you can't be... You see, the world we're in, you can't be a perfect person. You can't be perfectly ethical, but you can try your best to be that. You can try your best to reach that ideal. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. Bloody hell, mate. These questions, they're tough. I did ask ChatGPT for difficult questions, and I hope I'm answering them well and, reasonably. So yeah, next one. Practicality and accessibility. Recognizing that veganism can sometimes be perceived as inaccessible or impractical, particularly in lower income communities or regions with limited access to plant-based options, how do you work to make veganism more inclusive and feasible for a wider range of people? Well, I think veganism is accessible to anyone. Rice doesn't cost anything. A lot of vegetables and, a lot of plant-based food, it's not that expensive. When it comes to more processed foods, particularly in the West, particularly in the UK, I get that not everyone's going to be able to afford that stuff, and that's actually a good thing because a lot of this processed food tends to be more expensive and it tends to be worse for your health than eating whole food plant-based. So it can sometimes be perceived inaccessible. It's by no means inaccessible or impractical to anyone who's living in a first world country. Anyone who is in a financially stable position, all you need is that push, that commitment, that motivation inside you to make that change. It's not inaccessible. It's very easy to do. You just have to think about a greater purpose than yourself. Because when you get selfish, the most selfish thing to do is to not do anything. It's to not do anything. It's not to contribute anything, not to work hard at anything, just to literally do nothing. That's the most selfish thing you can do. But that doesn't really get you anywhere. And a lot of people end up committing suicide when they're in that sort of mindset. So yeah, I mean, bottom line is, it's not impractical. You just got to think about a greater purpose. And that greater purpose, the statement I pose to everyone I talk to about veganism, is that veganism is difficult when you think about yourself, but it's easy when you think about the animals, when you think about the victims of your choices, then it becomes a no-brainer. So yeah. Okay, animal welfare versus animal rights. Well, you hopefully already know my views on this, my views on welfare. So I'm an abolitionist. When I advocate for veganism, when I advocate for animal rights, I advocate in a way which states that we should abolish all animal exploitation, because we can do that. And welfare doesn't help animals. Is that you're avoiding the real problem when you're talking about welfare. There's always been new welfare reforms introduced, but then the principle is wrong. The practice is wrong as well. But is it the practice that needs changing or the principle? Because if you just change the practice, then you get more welfare reforms come in. More welfare reforms that don't help the animals. But the principle of using animals for our benefit, that needs to be changed. And that should be changed to a vegan principle where animals are not used for our benefit. We're against animal exploitation of all kinds, and we stand firm in that. That's my view on it. I feel like I'll be an abolitionist throughout my life, really. I can't really see myself falling back on animal welfare or seeing that as the right answer. Perhaps in some ways it might bring about a quicker change for animals, but I just attack the truth. I just go right to the heart of the matter, and the heart of the matter is it's wrong to exploit animals and to use animals, because that mindset has led to all this horror that we see in these big scale industries. So yeah. Critique of mainstream veganism. Ooh, okay. What are some critiques you've encountered of mainstream veganism? How do you address them within your activism? Well, veganism it's an ethical stance. It's not a diet. So critiques I've encountered of, well, I mean, dude, the vegan movement is kind of split. Like, a lot of people can't decide what a vegan is or what a vegan means. I go with the definition that a vegan is someone who's against animal use, against animal exploitation. Yeah, I mean, critiques I've encountered is, okay, veganism is not about rejecting animal use or exploitation, it's just about animal rights. It's about bringing animals' rights. Or, no, veganism, yeah, you're a vegan if you eat meat once a week. I completely disagree with that. Or you're still a vegan if you decide to bet on like horse racing. It's not a vegan thing to do, because vegan, for me, and what the definition that is most agreed upon the committed activist, is against animal use. That's what we want to see. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of critiques, I suppose, but that's the main one. Global perspectives, the final one. How do I approach vegan advocacy in regions where traditional diets are heavily reliant on animal products and where cultural and economic factors may present significant barriers to veganism? The vegan movement is still pretty small. The most global organisation is Anonymous for the Voiceless, whom I organise for here in the UK. I mean, I'll be super interested to see how people who are part of AV around the world advocate and navigate the different cultural backgrounds. I feel like here in the UK, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, everyone's grown up with meat, but we call ourselves a nation of animal lovers, yet we pay for billions of animals to be killed every year for our consumption. And I think the most English thing to do is to be vegan, really, because, yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult question, that one. Because I've only done vegan advocacy in the UK. Have I done only that in the UK? I know how most people are like in the UK, but in a different culture. Like that, we got AV groups in places like Africa, places like Taiwan, China, even Hong Kong, I think. I mean, that's a vastly different culture to ours. But the common denominator between all these cultures is that it is traditional to use animals and to exploit animals and to eat animal products and to contribute to industries that exploit animals for entertainment, for research, medicine, etc. But yeah, that's a final different question. But these questions are meant to provoke deeper reflection and discussion with the vegan and animal rights movement. And this type of stuff is good. This is the type of stuff we kind of need. This is what makes us better activists. And I mean, there's a lot of division in the movement. And I think to get the least amount of division, I think people just need to come together and just work for the animals. They need to work for their common interests, that they want to see animals protected. They want to see animals not sent into slaughterhouses, not ending up on their friends' plates, etc. So I think as vegans, if vegan activists especially, if we just focus on that animal rights, that animal rights message, that message of animals are not here for us, and that we reject exploitation of any kind, I think that creates very effective advocacy. But yeah, like guys, we can't put walls up between us, because it's not a big movement. So we got to try and unite somehow, even with all our different backgrounds, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much my answers to those. Yeah, they're all right answers, I suppose. I'm not sure if I've answered them that well, but I would implore any vegan activists to answer these questions themselves if they want to improve their advocacy, and keep an open mind to other forms of advocacy. I always say that any vegan advocacy is good advocacy. Like, we kind of need everything, and people have different talents. They have different skills that they can use to bring about the emancipation of animals, the freedom of animals that we all want to see. So yeah, guys, unite on animals. That's what I say. Don't get caught up in politics, different views. Don't get caught up in all that when you're doing animal rights advocacy, please. Leave that for after the cube, leave that for after the event, and discuss it in a reasoned and respectable manner. Yeah, that's what I say. But yeah, anyway guys, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.